It's Friday, and that means it's time for the Tabletop RPG News of the Week video. Kobold Press today released a digital edition of their new fantasy role-playing game Tales of the Valiant. Initially called Black Flag, the game was in large part a response to last year's D&D OGL controversy. It's been described as a 5e-like game with more crunch akin to the first edition of Pathfinder. And kudos to Kobold for ultimately choosing a name that isn't the same one as a literal poison. Still less toxic than last year's proposed OGL changes, though. Wizards of the Coast has announced plans to update the system reference document with the rules changes coming in the new 2024 core books. Whatever they're calling this edition update will be available through Creative Commons, in stark contrast to what WotC was threatening last year with a now-scrapped attempt to make a much more restrictive licensing model for third-party content. Those changes to the SRD will be made around the time of the new Monster Manual release in early 2025. Many fans of the game are pleased about this return to openness and enabling ease of development for third parties without breaking any agreements, while the Pinkerton agency is presumably less excited about the loss of potential business. The warrior from the cover of the 1983 D&D Red Box is getting a miniature. Part of the upcoming Icons of the Realm's 50th anniversary models from WizKids, the warrior has been sculpted as female, or at least a person with breasts. It turns out this is what upset the dragon in the first place because it was really into traditional gender roles. The Game Manufacturers Association, or GAMA, has moved the dates of its annual trade show, the GAMA Expo, to avoid conflict with Toy Fair, the toy industry's annual convention. One reason for the change was the desire to continue the growth the Expo was experiencing last year, having hit record numbers for attendance. In exchange for accommodating the schedule change, the Kentucky International Convention Center and Galt House required GAMA to extend their agreement to keep the show in Louisville for another year beyond the original contract, which would now be 2027. So, like Indianapolis and anyone engaging with me at a bar, Louisville can expect to keep getting inundated by nerdiness for the foreseeable future. On August 1st, Paizo will release an adventure designed to playtest Starfinder's upcoming second edition. The adventure is called A Cosmic Birthday and is about a group of cultists trying to bring about the birth of a cosmic entity. The player characters will be tasked with stopping this from happening. The book will retail for $24.99 and promises fan-favorite creatures updated to second edition. But if you don't like the idea of buying an entire adventure book written for rules which are still only in playtest, I'd also advise avoiding purchases of any D&D products. On Kickstarter now, the Book of Spirits is a 5e supplement that focuses on the spirit realm. Players can fight ethereal creatures and gain spirit companions. The book introduces a new resonance system, which gives your character the ability to channel feelings, making emotional attacks on ethereal monsters. Which kind of reminds me of how my divorce went. If you want to try to fool people into thinking you've slain an actual dragon, WizKids has you covered. Again, but this time it's a 50th anniversary limited edition ancient red dragon head. Designed for wall mounting, this plaque will weigh 17 pounds and is made with polyfoam, latex, and paint. The base of the plaque is painted gold, and the head has one eye designed to look battle damaged. There's also a 50th anniversary logo on the back of the plaque. Just look at that thing in all its gaudy, nerdy glory. Looks like something Dwight Schrute would mount over his bed. Famous D&D vampire count, Strahd, has been featured in promotional material for the Eye of Vecna adventure, and now that it's out, we've learned that in this depiction, he's played by Hugo Weaving. Edge Studios has revealed that their upcoming Arkham Horror role-playing game will use a new dice pooling system, which they simply call DPS, for Dice Pool System. It'll involve D6s in a dynamic pool, which can grow or shrink based on things that happen during play. Players will decide how much dice from the pool to spend when attempting something, and may have their dice pool shrunk unexpectedly. Great, so more things to add to my shrinkage anxiety. Free League will be releasing a campaign for Dragonbane called Path of Glory. It's a rewritten version of the first major campaign for the original Swedish edition of the game called Drakar och Demoner. Demoner? Demoner? More words I can't pronounce all the time, every week. Originally released as a trilogy, the new edition will be published as a single volume. The story plays out in a place called the Dead Forest, which is assailed by an ancient curse causing it to waste away. Promo text says that the adventurers soon find themselves embroiled in an epic conflict, reaching back to the very foundations of the world. So I can only assume that this means that this is, of course, about Kendrick and Drake. Okay, I have to talk to the art department. This image makes no sense. They're supposed to be fighting each other. Steamforged Games is releasing 3 more products in their Local Legends series. These are kits that include an encounter booklet, miniatures, and battle mats. The 3 new boxes are the Ghost Pirate Encounter, the Hag Encounter, and the Green Dragon Encounter. The adventures are written with 5e in mind, but Steamforged says they can be used with any system. And remember, inside you, there's a ghost, a hag, and a green dragon. Which will you feed? And will you feed it with the other 2? A new game from Cross Paths Press promises to be a single-player, GM-less tabletop version of the Dark Souls games. Also playing like a Dark Souls game, the player is expected to die and revive in a ceaseless circle while exploring 13 different dungeons. It does sound pretty cool, but I'll be disappointed if it doesn't come with a little device that yells, "You died," every time that happens. Catalyst Game Labs has announced a new sourcebook called The Needle's Eye. The book is a Shadowrun title offering new plot hooks and mission ideas on the theme of high-stakes confidence plots. And that kind of reminds me of my... Nope. Already made a divorce joke in this video. Shoot. The popularity of Dark Horse fantasy RPG Shadowdark continues to grow, and it's now available on Fantasy Grounds. It's another sign that the game is cementing itself in the community's consciousness. Part of the old school Renaissance, or OSR, Shadowdark plays simple, fast, and deadly. A lot like arguing with a grognard on the internet. Cynthia Williams, who recently resigned from her position as president of Wizards of the Coast, will become the new CEO of Funko. Williams will take over on May 20th, replacing interim CEO Michael Lunsford. Apparently, Funko needs some new guidance after posing a $23.7 million loss in the first quarter of this year. Maybe they feel that some WotC-style management will really punch things up. I mean, they've already kind of got a Universes Beyond business model, but maybe they could, create a collectible figure game with too many releases in a year to keep up with. Or maybe push a digital-first strategy, or try to change the terms of IP collaborations to overly favor themselves. And sorry, but I'm just going to make a reference to Pinkerton Agents again. I can't help myself. A new Doctor Who RPG campaign book called A Stitch in Time will be released on May 29th. The book contains a 10-episode series designed to play out over 10 weeks of gaming. The adventures, except for the final one, can be played out in any order. I guess because they involve time travel? And if so, can we go back to a time before this series started up with this silly timey-wimey catchphrase? Please? And here it is, what you've all waited the whole video to find out about, the reason Matt Mercer is in the thumbnail this week. And it's because Critical Role has announced a new subscription service, Critical Role Beacon. Stating that they would still release all episodes for free on Twitch and YouTube, they describe Beacon in ways that make it sound more like a private Patreon for their bigger fans. It'll offer access to a private Discord server, a fireside chat series with cast members, behind-the-scenes footage about Critical Role, early access to live show tickets, and discounts on merchandise. But don't worry, you can still come to this channel to admire our fetching stock image of Matt Mercer for free. I'm Dave. That's the news for this week, and thank you for watching.